Hello, everyone, and welcome along to this latest episode of this Arsenal podcast YouTube channel. And I have a very special guest that I'm delighted to introduce today. Very close friend of mine. We went to secondary school together. It's Ryan Skinner. And Ryan and we were in the same class in GCSE drama. We played on the same football team at our secondary school. And Ryan himself has had a lot of success in football, playing for Hale End Athletic and Barking FC. And also he was the coach at Waltham Forest Ladies for 2 seasons. So a man with a lot of football background, and we both share a very close fondness of Arsenal Football Club. We're both big fans, and this is what's connected us today for this podcast. So I'm absolutely delighted to have you here, Ryan, and welcome along.
No, I appreciate it, man. What better time to reconnect with an old friend than to talk about a team that we both love, So I'm very privileged. I'm very privileged to be part of your setup.
Fantastic, man. And let's get straight to it with Arsenal. Now, we were discussing before we started the recording how we're both really happy with how things are going at Arsenal. There seems to be a new identity growing, and the performances have been awesome. So just give me your impression how things are going at Arsenal from your point of view.
I couldn't agree more. I think we've started establishing our identity again. We were a team before that used to, whether you was an Arsenal fan or not, they loved the football that they saw. They loved the passing play. They loved it was basically magic on the pitch. And we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely on our way to being a team that could be that again. And I think it starts with the team actually taking on board and actually in like wanting to be part of Arteta's philosophy. That they're actually giving themselves to him instead of just being, I'm an Arsenal player. And those players that can't do it, we've seen them leaving. Kolasinac went today, Pablo Murray, Nketiah, we're not too sure about, but even Reece Nelson, someone that's been through the Hale End Academy. So many players we've seen go through the door that we didn't actually quite see them actually leaving. Last couple of seasons you had Mustafi, Socrates, all of these players. He's now filled in an 11 that he wants to have, which it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference.
It does. And I'm keen to pick up on that point, Ryan, about Arteta, because when he first got the job in December 2019, it was a bit of a chaotic moment in Arsenal's, let's say, recent history, because Unai Emery's reign came to a bit of an abrupt end, and there wasn't a great feeling around the club at that point. Obviously, Xhaka had his moment with the Arsenal fans and was stripped of the captaincy. Freddie Ljungberg had a very forgettable 6 weeks in charge. But how would you assess Ryan Arteta's 2 years, given the squad he inherited and the situation he inherited? How do you think he's done in those 2 years?
In all honesty, if looking at it, I feel like it's exactly what you would expect a team on a build and a manager learning his craft. If I'm honest, not only as an Arsenal fan, but like we both are lovers of football, we were having our most traumatic sort of turmoil time as a football club, whether it was the owners or it was the players on the field, and the manager didn't work, so he went. Now we got a new manager in, but he's never managed a team himself. He's been an assistant to one of the greatest managers of our time, but he's never really had the driving seat himself. So across the board, Arsenal fan or not, you kind of go, I'm happy that we've got a manager that loves the club, but I kind of need someone that knows what they're doing to help us get back to where we're supposed to be. And the last 2 years is exactly what I would expect a team in that scenario to have. You'd have like a moment of wow, thrill, like, oh my God, there's a new manager in and the team are playing really well. And then it's kind of like the other teams are now realizing what his philosophy is, and there's a bit of a dip because everybody's now learned what you're doing. And then like we said, we've got players in there that haven't invested themselves in him, that are maybe a bit tired of the club or tired of what goes on at the club and aren't really as invested in the club anymore. And as a manager, you kind of have to always think about the club. It's not personal, you know, it's not your friends. These are your employees. These are people that we pay to watch. So the last 2 years, it's gone exactly how I would expect of it to go. Because now you've got, like we said, a team that he's chosen. We've got a team that, you know, he's pretty much handpicked in ways that we didn't see happening. Like we were saying before, Tomiyasu, Ramsdale, two people that have had, well, Tomiyasu, I'll be honest, I've never heard of him before, but the world knows about him now, you know, over the space of however many months. And Ramsdale, he's known as the keeper that got two teams relegated. And now he's seen as the keeper that's keeping a team that is in turmoil in the top 4, top 5 position. When, say, Bern Leno, he had the reputation and hasn't been doing it, you know? So it's a case of like, now things are really starting to get interesting. What Arsenal have always wanted, and even fans that aren't Arsenal fans wanted, is just momentum. And that's what we're getting. We're starting to get, you know, it's momentum. If you're going to win the games against the lower 4 and say the mid 4, that's the games that you always win. If it's the top 6 that you struggle against, then that's fine. That's where you work on. But consistency. And yeah, in 2 years, I think that's what we've worked on, you know?
I think that's absolutely right, Ryan. Like, if I look at the tenure of Arteta, it has had its ups and downs, but it's something you'd expect given his inexperience. And
yeah,
I think something you mentioned there about the new signings coming in last summer, Tomiyasu, Ramsdale, Ben White, Lokonga, Tavares, and Odegaard. I think those 6 guys have really shifted the balance between maybe a team Arteta had that he didn't necessarily feel the trust was there with some of the players, but now it feels like the majority of the players there are backing the manager and are really buying into the process. So maybe the patience that Arsenal fans have shown Arteta was needed, because there needed to be that shift of getting out maybe the players that weren't committed to the club and bringing in new faces that had that enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I think it goes alongside of as well, you know, the whole point of being a fan is that win, draw or lose, that's your club. You know, you have your moments of frustration, but at the end of the day, that's the same club that I'm supporting now. It's the same club I'm going to support in 10 years. The same club I hope my children support. You know, that is my club. And as Arsenal fans, especially our generation of Arsenal fans, we, or even the generation above us, like, we've always known to have one manager, a long-lasting manager. We've always win, like I said, win, draw, or lose. You have your frustrations, but then you go back into, you know, okay, so what's he going to do now to fix it? Because this is our manager. And I think after Wenger, I mean, it's huge shoes to fill. Like immeasurable shoes. You can't. There's no way of anybody sort of doing what Wenger has done for Arsenal unless you take and stars, you know. But I think we went through a very weird phase after Wenger. We had a few managers in and out. We had a few interim managers in and out, and it was very un-Arsenal-like. You know, I think we knew he was coming to the end of his time, but we didn't know what we was going to do after that. So we had a very weird transitional phase where we had a load of cooks and only one pot. You know, like it just didn't quite work. But like you said, I think the fact that people are now showing a bit of faith to Arteta, giving him the time that he needs to work on more than just the pitch, because there's so much more going on. And I think it's important. It's really important, and it's you can see the difference. I mean, it's all well and good us talking about, but you can actually see it on the pitch, and that's what we like to see. The players are smiling, you know, the youth players are playing.
They are, Brian. They absolutely are. And just on that point of the players, which players have impressed you the most this season?
Ooh, what a question. First and foremost, Lacazette. Now, since he joined the club, he's always known that he's going to be a number 2 striker. And he's accepted his role almost flawlessly, to the point where now his quality is showing and he's our number 1 striker, really and truly. So Lacazette for me. In terms of the new signings, I mean, it's all of them have been just amazing. Tomiyasu, like I said, never heard of him before, and I'm somebody that's played like Football Manager, where you can go into the atmosphere with how much detail is in the game. Never heard of him before, honestly. And he's honestly, he feels to me like he's a right back that's been doing it for years, and he's only, I think he's like 23, 24, if that.
Yeah.
So that. You know, he's just about getting life experience, let alone, you know, being such a well put together fullback. Ben White, the back four in general, they seem like they're a real team, they're a real unit. Ramsdale must have had some of the Space Jam special water, because he reminds me, he sort of at the moment reminded me of early Chesney, you know, like where everyone, again, not really expected much from him because of his part, because of like not really knowing him, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, where did this guy come from? I think you know what, the main first 11, everybody has put in a real shift to put them where they are now. The five that I've mentioned stand out, or 6, sorry, that I've mentioned, proper stand out. They proper stand out. But across the board, the team, Arteta, you know, everyone's just really worked hard together. And Partey is finally looking like the Partey that, you know, that we was meant to sign. He's really stepping into his role. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one person, Saka.
Yes.
Across the board, if I had to pick one person, it would be Saka. Surely because, you know, especially after the shoulders, and a lot that he was burdened with, really, but he took it so well for someone so young.
100%. Ryan, I've got to show you and everyone, I've got his shirt on, Saka.
Oh,
this is his England training shirt. Ryan, I could not agree anymore with that assessment. I think I completely agree with Saka about Saka. He's my favorite player as well. And I think something you said there, this season, he's been able to benefit from having those senior guys actually inputting and giving good leadership. But last season, Arsenal were in real trouble. Like, we were struggling a lot, went down to 13th position in the league. And Saka was super consistent and very level-headed for someone so young to lead the team like he did at 19. I just thought it was so impressive. And then that earned him his opportunity at the Euros. And you could see how highly regarded he is with Gareth Southgate, that he was his go-to option at the Euros. Like, when we needed a spark, because if you think those first 2 games against Croatia and Scotland, we were really uncreative, quite slow in our attacks. And then in the third game, Southgate brings in Saka against Czech Republic. And that was the turning point in our tournament. All of a sudden, we had this burst from that midfield position. And I just loved how Saka did at the Euros. Obviously, there was the heartbreak of the penalty shootout, but that can happen to anyone. But in all honesty, in that tournament, for me, he was one of the standout players of the whole tournament. And that just underlined to everyone what Arsenal fans already knew about him in terms of his quality. But I think since the Euros, he's kicked on again. And that shows how much resilience he has because he's not let that Euros hangover stay in his system. He's actually improved.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I think you're spot on. Like it's almost like he went to the Euros as a young man and came back with just more experience. He's now experienced the second biggest sort of like international tournament in the world. There's only one bigger than that. And once you've been there representing your country, you know, there's only one more stage, and that's the World Cup. And I mean, if we got as close as we did in the Euros, I mean, yes, there's more teams to play in the World Cup, and there's different teams, and you know, who knows, there could be injuries or whatever the case may be, even if we are allowed to have the World Cup this year. But it's this year. Sorry, I forgot the World Cup is this year.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But you know, I feel like right now these are the type of players that we need to really be nurturing. Emil Smith-Rowe, Rashford, Greenwood, Mount, all of these players now that are showing that, you know what, I may be in my early 20s, but I'm ready for this stage. I want this stage. That's the type of hunger that we should be looking after, you know? And I'm actually quite happy that there's so many years where I see all these posts online, and when it comes to the international stuff, and I'm not really seeing a lot of love for young Arsenal players. And now there's like a really big sense of like whoa, Arsenal's academy is finally woken up again. You know, we've got Saka, Smith-Rowe, Nketiah. We'll get onto Nketiah, but Nketiah's in that mix. You know, Patino. Like, there's so many players that are coming through the Arsenal rankings now that it actually gives you, it's like a big breath of fresh air. You know, it feels like it's not all doom and gloom. So yeah, I think we are definitely starting to be recognized again. I feel like we slipped down into like a mid-table team for the last three or so years. We sort of slipped into a mid-table team, and it was like that's where people started to understand, like, you know, when you think about Arsenal, you kind of think mid-table, and we're not. We are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are still producing some of the best talents in the world. You know, we've still got the biggest following some of the biggest following in the world. We've still got one of the best stadiums in the world. We are still a top. I'm gonna say top five. Because even though we're doing really well now, there's still more to come. And the problem is now that there's so many other teams that are bridging that gap. You know, Newcastle is the richest club in the world. You know, things are shifting heavily. So yeah, no, we have a lot to be excited for as Arsenal fans, and Saka is definitely one of them.
Oh, in all honesty, Ryan, I think he's the symbol of the excitement. I think Saka is the most exciting representation of Arsenal. I think if we can get a team in his image, then we're going to be a real force to be reckoned with. I really do.
Yeah.
And just on that point, Ryan, you mentioned fifth there. You think we can get in the top five. Now, how important do you think it is for Arsenal, for Arteta's project, to get into top four and achieve Champions League football in terms of potentially retaining our talented young players and also in attracting new signings? Do you think how important is it? Is it make or break, or is it one of those where it'll come eventually?
Unfortunately, today's football is make or break. Like I said, I am invested in Arteta's process. I'm invested in Arteta's plan, but I don't matter. You know, what matters is silverware. What matters is contending for the league, the domestic cups. These things are what matter. These things are what matter. So, I think getting back into Europe, full stop, whether it's Europa or whether it's the Champions League, that's important. It's huge. We can't have another season without any European football because, again, as a team as well established as our own, that we're well established because we are in those competitions. They've got that Conference League now, don't they?
Yeah, for seventh place, I think.
Yeah, but again, that's for your Evertons. That's for your West Ham. No, West Ham's been doing well now for a good couple of seasons. So I take that back about West Ham, but like that's for that sort of cluster of that's for that cluster of teams. We're not in that cluster of teams. It's too important for us to get back into Europe, and I think it is important. We will then excite and ignite the interest again in terms of the players that are already here. And it will allow players to come in or that want to come in because they'll be like, you know what, last season they had no European football. This season they're in, say, Europa League. Like I can see as a football player, I can see their process. I want to be part of that process. You know, I think the only reason why we didn't get Lautaro Martinez at the beginning of the season was because of that reason. There's no other reason why you're going to come in and be effectively the number one striker. You're young, you're incredibly talented, you're fast, you've got a great left foot or right left foot. There was no other reason other than the fact he's not going to be in European football. Why leave a team that's in Europe to go to a team that's not, you know? I can never say his name, but the guy that we're looking at now, Vlahovic. That one. Vlahovic. He's one of those players that are on the up. So fortunately, he's in that age bracket, or he's in a different sort of bracket to Martinez, where he would like that challenge.
Yes.
You know, he's like, you know, I want to be that person that says, yeah, my goals this season took Arsenal to the Champions League. Where Lautaro Martinez, he's already sort of at that point, you know. So it's kind of like, when you get there, call me. Like I was ready last year, but right. You know, we're not at the right place.
But maybe Vlahovic, like you say, might see it as he could be one of the missing pieces of the jigsaw to take us there, because he's at that age, 21.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, I want to ask your opinion about this Carabao Cup semi-final, second leg against Liverpool, because for me, this is a very big match for Arsenal. It's a huge game because, similar to the top four finish, I think winning a trophy is priceless for Arsenal, and this is our only opportunity. And I feel like Liverpool, we can definitely beat them at the Emirates, especially when they don't have Salah and Mane. So what's your assessment of this game, Ryan? What do you think Arsenal need to do? And how realistic is it for us to get past Liverpool?
If I'm honest, we've proven that Liverpool are beatable. This season have proven that Liverpool are beatable. They haven't got their talisman. They haven't got their like one of the best players to leave Southampton. I think it was Southampton.
Yeah.
Well, even that, yes, they've got Van Dijk, but Van Dijk or players that come in and they bring a new dynamic, people have to learn them. So when no one knew how to do Van Dijk, it was like, how has he left one team as an average player, gone to another team and become this defensive deity. But they are definitely beatable. But the problem with Arsenal is consistency. And if we bring the same energy with 11 players that we did in the last game at the Emirates, they are the ones that should be worried. 100%, they are the ones that should be worried, because these players are now up for it. Partey's back and he's like, 100% he watched the game. 200% he watched the game, and he saw things and he was like, I could have stopped that. I could have stopped that from happening. I think the biggest victory for me is that Xhaka won't be on the pitch. I've never been a Xhaka fan. He's not the worst centre midfielder in the world, but I think the Premier League's too quick for him. That's why he gets caught out a lot. He's had the most red cards, or he's had the most cards in the time frame that he's been there in the whole history. Like, this is crazy. But I think it's really up in the air. Bookies' favourite will be Liverpool. Obviously, they're the favourites too. We're favourites for everything at the moment. Obviously, City are they're doing their thing in the league, but Liverpool have just got that stature at the moment. But we are the club of unpredictability. We would win tonight and then lose against Brentford next week. You know what I mean? Like, or we'll lose against Wimbledon next week. We are the club. That is Arsenal's gift and Arsenal's curse. But tonight, sorry, not tonight. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's Thursday night UK time, Friday morning Australian times.
Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be a real spectacle, especially being at the Emirates.
Oh, massively, right? And I think that's huge for us. And I think in terms of psychologically, this is an important game for Arsenal. If we can show to ourselves that we can overcome one of these bigger fish, then I think that's going to elevate our confidence, and you're going to see more growth as a result of it. And it could spur us on to get top four. I genuinely believe if we beat Liverpool, it gives us a shot in the arm for our league challenge as well.
Yeah, and I think, like we said, it's the momentum, it's the snowball effect. It's like, you win this game and you think to yourself, okay, so this is going to be, give or take, our hardest game in a little while. So let's take that same energy into the next game, and then into the next game, and then before you know it, the season's done, and you're like top four, and you're like, okay, so we've done it. Now we need to make sure we do it next year. So it's that type of snowball effect that we need to start bringing into our fold. Where both teams have players missing to AFCON Cup, but Liverpool are worse off. So we need to be ruthless. I need Arteta to not pull any punches. Like if we go 2-0 up, go for that third goal. I don't really want you to sit back, because that's what Liverpool do. They absorb you until you're completely and utterly knackered, and then they just run and they run and they run. Their fullbacks, two of the best that partnerships I've seen in the time that I've had. I'll be honest. We've had great fullbacks, but as a partnership, by far, I think for a very long time, that's the best partnership I've seen. So Saka and Martinelli, if he's playing, have got a lot of work to do. But it's work that they've done. It's work that they've done before.
I was so impressed with those two, Ryan, in the first leg, because obviously Arsenal were down to 10 men. Saka and Martinelli just worked tirelessly up and down, tracking back. And it was that youthful energy that we needed. It was all hands to the pump. And I honestly think that was probably what finished us off in terms of not having enough players available for the North London derby. It's because the guys spent all their energy keeping Liverpool out in the first leg.
How refreshing was it to see at the end of the game players literally hitting the floor tired because they left everything on the pitch, instead of walking off and everything being fine, and pretending like, oh, there's another game in a couple of days, it's fine. Like, everyone left everything on that pitch, like from the goalkeeper all the way up to the striker. Like, everybody, they were spent. And as this is the annual headache that Arsenal have, is strength in depth. Our first 11, that's how I want our first 11 to play every week. Leave everything out on the pitch. That just then means that the next match we need to start doing rotations, but the rotations are so vast and so spread apart that you're then worried. And I don't blame Arteta for asking for the North London derby to be postponed.
Neither do I, 100%.
I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
But it's just what you've got to do. So I look at it now and I think to myself, we've now got, let's say, a solid 9 in our first 11. The reason why I say 9 is because I still believe we need a new energy in our striking position.
Yes.
And we need somebody to accompany Partey.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Ryan. I think those are the two positions that need upgrading. And I think another key word, Ryan, that you mentioned there is 11. Arsenal need to keep 11 players on the pitch, because I think this is a problem we have against the big teams like Man City, Liverpool, that have these quick players that can spin into space. Is sometimes our defending is just a little bit rash. So I think maintaining that discipline, keep 11 players on the pitch, give ourselves a chance. And I think that could be the key in some ways. Yeah, no,
I think in any case that it's just so important, because that one player, like when Gabriel got sent off. Now, granted, again, we didn't do too badly, but it's just another hole on the pitch. You're now the team that's on the field. Everybody has such a key, like they're a key cog to the machine. So if you now do something silly and you take yourself out of the machine, the machine still works, but it's struggling. Yes. And Gabriel, since he arrived, I've been impressed with him. He's sort of brought back that defensive, like, just to steal. He's not afraid to use his body weight. He wins his headers. You can see him saying, guys, like, push up or drop back or he's not scared to have the ball at his feet. He can play a pass, and now he's been accompanied by Ben White, who brings that sort of dynamic where, teamwork and dreamwork, it just, they don't speak the same language, but they play the same football, which is the universal language.
That's a great point, Ryan. I think you're spot on. I think the partnerships that we're building in defense, the understanding with those two guys, Gabriel and White, and as you mentioned before with Ramsdale, bringing that almost cheerleader effect, he's added a lot of leadership.
He has been unbelievable. Like, obviously we've all seen the videos and the clips, and if you watch the games and been to the games, you've seen some of the amazing saves that he's made. But I think what I love about the Arsenal at the moment is that it's about more than just that 90 minutes. It's about more than just when he's got the ball at his hands or by his feet. You can see him spurring on people. Like, I saw an interview not too long ago where he said, like, me and Ben White are friends, like, we've been friends, but every time he makes a good tackle or I make a save, like, we're not cheering because, we did our job. We generally love defending, exactly. Like, this is like, every time he makes a tackle, I celebrate like we scored a goal, like, because he stopped one, and his energy has been unbelievable. I think he's been a very, very key signing, because what was it he said not too long ago? He's like, I joined this club supporting somebody else, but now I'm an Arsenal fan.
I love that.
Granted, a lot of people say stuff to, make everyone feel better every time they sign a new player. Like, oh yeah, I've heard about the club's history and they've got the script.
Yeah.
But he just seems very open. He seems very just honest.
Yeah.
You know, like he loves the club and we've embraced him. Everyone didn't know. Everyone was like, oh God, even me, I was like, oh, Ramsdale, like I didn't know enough about him. And all the stuff that I did know, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know? But
Credit Arteta. And Ryan, I'm going to ask you one last question just before we round up. And what I want you to answer is, what is the one thing about the Arsenal situation right now that gives you the most room for optimism? If you were to pinpoint one factor.
For optimism, I just say the fact that the boys are playing with heart. You know, they're playing with a smile, and it doesn't feel like they're being told to smile. They're not being told to high five each other. They really look like they're invested in the club that they're in, you know, like the youth playing. Arsenal have always been a team to play their youth players. And now we are actually playing youth. We're playing people. We're in the lower cup games where we're giving the youth players game time. Like Patino scored his goal the other day, and the whole bench, everybody wanted to celebrate because they were like, this is what we're doing it for. And that's what gives me hope, because players come and go. Whenever I buy a top these days, I have the same dilemma. What name do I put on the back? You know, like what number do I put? And I don't put a number in the back, or I'll get, you know, Daddy One or something like sentimental to me. But now I'm looking at it and I look at the team and I think to myself, yeah, these are a group of lads that generally come to work every single day and they enjoy their time with their football family. They're a family. And yeah, I think anybody that comes into that now, they're very fortunate. Like they need to realize that this is the level that we're trying to set. This is now the new benchmark. This is the Arsenal that, you know, we want to take forward. And that's what gives me hope. The players that we're bringing in, they need to embrace that. Don't try and pull away or try to do your own thing. This is the way Arteta wants things to be done. So let's do it. You know, like immerse yourself in Arsenal. Like Ramsdale said, I love the team. I'm an Arsenal fan. That's the type of energy you want. And that's something to really look forward to. Every time Arsenal play, I'm just like, okay, so what's gonna happen today? You know, not like, oh God, we're playing Liverpool.
There's been a big shift.
Healthy.
Massively. Yeah. There's been a massive shift. And I think you're spot on with that, Ryan, in the sense that togetherness and spirit and heart is really starting to come through, and there's a unity there amongst the players, and long may it continue. Long may it continue. Listen, Ryan, we'll wrap it up there, but thanks so much once again for coming on the channel.
Thank you,
really appreciate your time, and it was wonderful to catch up with you.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate the invite. Like it's been good. I've very much enjoyed it. I love talking. I could talk about Arsenal all day, and it's nice to do. Now it's nice to do it on someone that I hold dearly. Like it's nice to do it on your channel, and I appreciate it
massively. Right, we'll get it going. We'll get another one up at some point in the future. But yeah, I loved hearing your views as well. And come on, Arsenal, for Thursday. Let's hope we can get the win.
Let's go, boys. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go, boys. Come on. All right, Ryan. Have a great day, man.
See you later, dude.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.